y'all. I'm Hope here at Crafty Hope, and welcome. I am about to work in the September Clean Slate Journal series. This is a series from my friend Nina Fickett, in which she every month uses her paper bag journal that she made. I think that's what it was, and just kind of plays. There's no prompts or pressure or anything like that, and I have found it a great way to just kind of de stress and get in my journal without the prompts or the pressure or anything like that. I made this journal actually as part of my Crafty Hope prompts. Y'all, I just finished the last card in that series. I'll have my project coming up this weekend, and that's it for my Crafty Hope prompts. How crazy is that? Anyway, I'll link to all of that. This is about my clean slate journal. I made this journal as one of my prompt projects, and Nina suggested I use it for her Clean Slate series. So that's what I've been doing when I can. And I'm just kind of going front to back in it. I kind of like that in a junk journal because every time you go in there, it's something a little bit different. I don't have to hop around or anything like that. But the page on the right is super brittle and was breaking apart, had stuck to the page behind it. I don't know if you saw that. I've sped this portion up a bit. And you can see in the center of both of those pages, I've actually put some washi tape to kind of keep them from tearing through. But everything, yeah, I'm having to like reinforce the back of this page. It's way brittle. So I'm doing everything I can to kind of just keep it from tearing to pieces. So, yeah, this is a excuse me, this is a piece of some kind of collage paper that I received in one of the Your Creative Studio boxes that I unboxed for them. I'll try to put a link to that as well. But it was nice, sturdy paper, whereas some of the other papers I'm using in there are also like rust-dyed papers and brittle vintage papers and stuff like that. So I knew I needed to get some other papers in there instead of just stacking brittle papers on top of brittle papers. I'm using an acrylic matte medium to put this all down. And yeah, I'm making just this really yummy, grungy page. There's a lot of, you can see even that Your Creative Studio paper I put down has like rusty, distressed looking papers on it. So I'm kind of loving this bit. There's some more of that Your Creative Studio. That's a different little booklet that was in the pack I got. That I'm going over some of that washi because the washi was firmer than the paper there, and so it was making it like pop up and be weird. So I was trying to get everything kind of to behave really. And the page on the left was the back of something and it was super plain, and so it needed interest. So yeah, y'all, this is just getting a bunch of collage. Um the Clean Slate series is all about just playing and using some of your materials. And so yeah, just dipping into this box of scraps and whatnot and throwing it down. You can see over on the right, I also put down a bit of a tea bag, and I love that. So that's why I'm putting down that little bit of sewing pattern paper as well. All right, so that is just about all of the collaging I'm doing. I'm going to dry it, and I've come in with one of my hand carved stamps. I carve most of these on erasers. So, yeah, and that's some Black Soot Distress Oxide. I have enjoyed playing with the Distress Oxides, and yeah, so I kind of pulled that out. And I felt like this page needed some black, needed some more texture, and it needed to be a little more cohesive. So I'm starting to kind of bring these papers together by adding this bit of stamping on here. And yeah, but I also knew I wanted some gesso and I wanted to kind of blend somehow this stamp with the gesso, and you'll see what happens. So I'll pull out my Liquitex Professionals white gesso. I'm going to have some trouble because I've put it in this smaller container, so I just kind of like trying to clean it off. I'm so bad about closing those containers and keeping things from like drying in the tube. So yeah, that's gonna have to be cleaned, but I still got some gesso out. I also got my little brayer, and I'm just trying to get just a little bit of that gesso on the brayer and go over all of this. Again, I'm trying to make it just a little more cohesive, but I don't want the white to be like so stark. So I'm grabbing a paintbrush, wetting it down with some water, and I'm going to blend some of this out. The the Distress Oxide is water reactive, so it will blend in with that gesso in the water a little bit and make kind of a muddy gray. But I was surprised to see that my those like teardrop stamps aren't moving much. And I thought it was funny that I used this stamp because one of my prompts this week for my last Crafty Hope prompt is tear or tear. So I was like, I might could use this. So we'll see what I do on Saturday for my project. I don't know yet. But I'm using that water and watering down the gesso and moving things around and just kind of making everything kind of blend and meld. And yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna dry this. You'll see. I start to dry it and I'm like, no, I need a little bit more of that Distress Oxide. So I pull out a piece of acetate and put a little bit more of that black soot down, spritz it with some water, and then basically just make a mess with it. It dripped everywhere. So some of the pages that'll in this journal to come will have some of that Distress Oxide on it. It's fine. That's what I like about junk journals is you don't start. I mean, some of the pages, sure, like the one on the left, are blank, but there's just about every page has something on it. No, y'all, that little piece of nonstick craft sheet is just a piece of nonstick craft sheet that I cut down. I had one that tore because I accidentally cut it. Oops. So I ended up cutting it down. It's going to come in handy in this so many ways. I used it to keep, there with the brayer. I also used it as a backer on there to keep my page from sticking together when I was trying to fix that hole. But, excuse me. Yeah. Anyway, this was feeling super grungy and I wanted some kind of pop of color on there. So I pulled out this set of colored pencils that I picked up on clearance at Michael's and pulled out the neon pink. Y'all, I'm not usually a pink girl, so this really surprised me how much I wanted neon pink on this. So I scribbled. I tried to go around some of those teardrops, but it just wasn't showing up. So I was like, well, shoot, I'll just scribble. And then once I got the scribbling done, I was like, I really want some watercolor. Oh, wait, this set I have here has neon watercolor in it. So yeah, y'all, I thought I was gonna like do more scribbling basically with the watercolors, but no, I just splattered it on that page, and now I will dry it again, I think. I don't know what's taken me so long to make that decision. So I'm gonna try it also. And now I'm starting like, okay, what do I want to do with a focal before I go any further? How do I want to work something in? So I've got this little box of what I consider focal or like layered elements and things like that. And so I'm going through it. I pulled out that orange thing, and y'all, I thought I had used this lady on something else, but maybe I didn't. I don't remember. Maybe I have her image in some other way. I don't. Anyway, I end up pulling out this picture of these four girls, and I really liked it. And I was like, you know what? And I moved that orange thing around, but I was like, look, I used all this pink. I don't want something that says orange on it. So I'm going to flip through some of these other like stackable label pieces. I don't know where some of that came from. I'm sure somebody sent it to me at some point, and I recently just added a bunch of stuff from like Happy Mail and everything that people had sent me to this box so that it was accessible and not tucked away where I won't use it. So I tore the picture down because these pages are kind of small and I didn't want that picture to kind of be so dominant on here. So, and I like this other little ticket thing that's off there that says the 2, and I don't even know what it is. It's some kind of ticket. And I liked it, but it wasn't quite right. And I'm like, this picture is still too big. So I tear it down a little more. And I'm going to look at this for a while. I usually cut out some of this futzing for y'all, but I felt like I wanted to go ahead and let y'all see like how many things I kind of went through. This, I think, is some little vintagey things from my friend Nina, who's actually, hosts this series. And then I found this, it's from Seam Binding. It's the label inside of a seam binding packet. And it was, I tore it down and then I saw that it was already torn. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to play with that. And I really like that turquoisey blue-green color that was on it. So I pulled out some sprays that I thought, well, maybe those will work, but they weren't quite right. So then I went and looked. I was like, what will be that color? So I found an acrylic paint in Sea Breeze, I believe is the color. and decided it was super close to that color. So I am just going to open it up and make some finger dots. So I start with these, but I realize that it didn't get mixed up enough. So I'm going to shake it up again and get this down. This page is way brighter than I would normally do. My style is usually I go with the blues, not the blues. Oh, I do go with the blues, but I tend to go with like the browns and the blacks and the grunginess with maybe one dominant color. And for some reason here, I felt like, yeah, let's go with blues and pinks. I don't know. It felt right. It looks a little weird sitting on my desk to have all that color on it, but okay, it works. All right, so I've got all my finger dots. Not well, that one had a little too much, so I am gonna try that. And then I recently got this blue Stabilo all pencil. I've also got, the regular black and then a brown and a white, but I was like, you know what? I don't have blue. So I ordered me a blue one, and y'all, it's so pretty. It's everything blue, so pretty. But I circled a few of those finger dots, and of course, I'm going to activate them. If something is water reactive, I gotta do it. I gotta. So I will activate those just to bring that out. I could have played with these dots and gone around them with other things as well, but whatever. And I pull out this piece of, it is coffee dyed, and I think it's like a tea towel. Because I wanted that texture, that like fabric texture in there. So I pulled it out, and also some hot pink thread that's in my stash. It's probably something I picked up a bag of a bunch of different threads, and that's that, or from an old sewing kit I picked up somewhere. I don't know. But I was like, you know what? Let's play with this. So I'm gonna have a little bit of a time putting it on the needle and tying it. I should have cut this out, but I thought, nah. It made a knot before I could even get it tied, so I was like having to tie below the accidental knot. Anyway, so I cut off all of that, and I'm gonna stitch this little stack together with that seam binding label, the fabric, and that vintage photo. And I am trying to make this as like wily and sketchy and weird as possible. Just thread kind of everywhere. It didn't matter. I wasn't making a certain shape. Yeah. I really, really wish, and I should have, while I was doing this, I was the whole time actually, I was like, why didn't you just take a little bit of your glue stick and tack these together so that nothing slips? But I was like, no, because I want to get this done. And y'all, seriously, take that 2 seconds if you're gonna do this, and tack it together real quick so stuff doesn't slip. My fabric was starting, yeah, you could see there, I'm trying to straighten it because it was slipping underneath everything, and I was just like, ugh. So, and basically I'm going just in and out here. At one point here, no, not here, at some point I come up and I will take the thread up through some of the stitches. I was trying to get as much of that pink showing as possible on the front of this. So I was trying to decide at what point I was going to be done, and I'm just making these stitches all over. I could have sped this up. I don't know. I didn't. Oh, here I go. See, here's me going like up under some of these stitches and back down. And at some point I go through, yeah, I think that must have been it there. Yeah, the fabric folded over. It got all wonky on me. I was having to like, it's okay. I wanted this to be messy and odd and weird, and I suppose that it is. So I'm going to make a couple more stitches trying to finish this out, and then I will quickly tie it on the back. It may be hard to, I'm having a hard time seeing this in the little viewfinder. See, look, and finally I'm going to pull out that Uhu glue stick and be like, come on, just tack it down a little bit. Oh my gosh, I'm a mess sometimes. But this was a good ounce of play for me. So I took that the thread. Why do I always do that? I took that thread that was on the needle, the thread I had cut off when I had the accidental knot, and then I pulled out some more thread. And I'm going to just bunch all that up and put it down on my page. And I knew the more I messed with it, the more like tangled up it was getting, and I didn't want it to become just one ball. I wanted it to still feel kind of loose. So what was I doing here? I was trying to decide if Fabri-Tac was the best glue to do this or if I wanted something else, if I wanted to get my matte gel medium. But I was like, you know what? Just put the Fabri-Tac down. So I put it down, and I'm going to use that nonstick sheet to press my thread and everything down, and that worked. There's another way. I use that nonstick craft sheet. I was like, look at me using it for all the things. So I'll put the Fabri-Tac on the back of everything there and then stick it down. From there, I knew I wanted a sentiment, probably something black to kind of pop on that page a little bit. So I found these Art by Marlene stickers. I think I found the phrase, the best thing in life, the best things in life aren't things, something like that, or not things, something like that. And I thought this group of ladies are showing that their companionship and friendship and love for one another are kind of important. So I thought that was perfect. But the wording just didn't pop for me there, so I was like, oh, I gotta put something else down. So I grabbed my silver Uniball Signo gel pen, which just happened to be on my desk, and I'm gonna go around the words and go around just to make some sketchy lines around my focal and my words, and kind of I will connect them because I was trying to bring them together. So I'm going to go under like that and then, pull it together. But then I was like, okay, I don't have this anywhere else on the page. So I'm going to make a bunch of little marks. Just do some mark making with that silver gel pen. And it took me a minute to decide what kind of marks. But I was like, you know what? For some reason, I love these little stacks of dashes. I don't know what to call them, but I do them all the time. So yeah. I'm going to do these little stacks of dashes, I think in about 5 places on here. And once I get done with that, that will be it. I will be done with this page. It was a bit fiddly and all over, but it was a good play. It's a little different for me. Like I said, I've got 2 colors on there. Well, 3 if you count the 2 different blues. But I got to bring in some fabric and vintage photo and some thread, and just play. So that is it. If you like this, make sure to give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and go check out what Nina has done. I know she'll probably have her October Clean Slate Journal up. She does it at the beginning of the month, whereas I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that at the end of the month. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for spending this time with me, and I will see y'all very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.